Hey everyone, this is Holly from Hot Humble Pie, and today I am bringing you $2 and under fall DIYs, and in some cases they'll be free depending on what you have in your home. And as always, I hope you enjoy the show. Oh, this was a fun one. So I grabbed a vase from the Dollar Tree and then I found this little candle tea light holder. You actually don't have to have that for this DIY, although I do occasionally still see these. I popped the little tea light out, but if you don't have it, you can still make this DIY craft. So easy to do. So on this one, just in case you do find it, you pop the tea light out and then you're just going to stick that vase inside that light, and it just created that wire wraparound that you see in lanterns because we're making a lantern. But again, if you don't have that, no big deal. I've even seen people take wire and do faux wraparounds. I have seen people take electric tape and do a faux wraparound. There's a couple ways you can get that look. And here I'm using a large can. This was like that extra large chicken can that you use for chicken food. And with all of my cans in this DIY, I washed them through the dishwasher. Then I sprayed them with bleach and I actually put them outside in the sun to let them dry, which is the best deodorizer. And they sat around for a few months, so actually they smelled like nothing but metal. They were so clean, but that was a great way to clean them. You can also use an ozone machine, but I'm taking this can here. I think this was a smaller chicken can, maybe a tuna can, I can't remember, but they're all a generic size, so just this size can. And I was painting it with a black latex paint that included primer that I got from Home Depot at the time in a gallon, and I believe it was called Midnight Black. I don't remember the brand, but that was the name of the color. It wasn't quite like a deep black. It was perfect. It was kind of like a night sky black. But if you have black spray paint, that would work just fine. I didn't have it at the time, so I had to go with a paint that I knew would stick to all of these shiny surfaces because obviously they're not going to be friendly to chalk paint or anything like that. It will chip off. So the way I handled the inside of the can is I went ahead and traced out 3 of the cardboard circles. I cut them out, and then I ended up putting the towering blocks in between each one to pile them up just to get them to the right height. So you'll see it. I'm doing it right here. I'm putting the 3 blocks down, then I'm going to put a cardboard on top of that, then I test it inside the can. It's still a little bit too deep when I put it on top of the glass vase. It's covering up most of the vase. I didn't want that. I just wanted it to look like it was sitting on top of the vase. So I added another layer, and that was just perfect enough so that you want the can to cover the edge of the glass vase, but you don't want it to go down so far that it looks super tiny. So that was perfect, and I ended up needing 2 layers of the blocks and 3 of the cardboard, and then I just glued it inside, and it was sitting down there enough where there was enough, like I said, of the can itself hanging over. And then I took this mayonnaise lid and I took some super glue. It was just super glue gel from Dollar Tree, and I glued it onto the top of the biggest can. After that, I glued the bottom of this little piece here onto the top of that. So if you don't have that metal piece again, you would just go ahead and glue just the vase down. It would still look so pretty. And I'm showing you what a perfect fit. I was like proud of how the cardboard trick with the towering blocks worked. I also painted the bottom of the cardboard black. You can see that too. And I'm taking that shiny metallic paint from Folklore. I think that's kind of like the craft paint that they sell like bronze, gold. That's the to-go-to at Walmart that I always get. And I'm just dry brushing that on all over because I want this to look like that old, this was a fall craft, right? So I wanted it to look like a farmhouse vintage lantern. So it came out really beautiful. I should have, looking back, I should have done the part with the metal that I crammed the glass vase into. I should have done that first with the silver because that made it harder for me. I had to go around with the brush and just touch up the little silver part. I mean, it worked out. But definitely if you find that little candle holder thingy, paint it first, the silver, and then put your glass vase in there. So I grabbed a white votive candle and painted it brown. You could just use a black votive candle now, but this DIY, if you cannot find the candle holder, you just stick the vase on top of the cans. Look around. You don't even need the votive candle on the top. You can probably find something around your house. An applesauce cup might work. Some kind of small jar that you saved. Tea lights, those little empty tea light metal pieces might work if you pile them up in the right way. Or you could do a faux metal handle You'd have to experiment with different things, but this can absolutely come in at $1.25, and to this day, it remains my favorite fall DIY. So here I grabbed the Famous Farmers Market Dollar Tree calendar. They still come out with these every year. They always come out with really pretty calendars, period. And you can usually use the fall one for a fall craft. But the one thing that made this probably a free DIY, really, because if you find a printable online, and there are so many, I have left so many resources, and I will leave them down below again in my description box if you're looking for free printables. There are so many places now to go to get those. We even have AI now where you can make, you can make something probably on AI. But this printable right here, obviously it was super cheap. It was like $1 for the calendar, but I ended up putting it on wood that I got for free from Home Depot. So what I learned, since I used to talk about the free wood that I would get, is that every Home Depot is different. I had one Home Depot right next to me where the manager was really weird about it, and he just didn't want to give away anything free. He was like, no, no, no. Then I drove up, they called it the grade. Like I literally just drove up this little hill up to the city next to me, which was like 20 minutes away, went to that Home Depot, and they had so much wood for sale that was left over from cutting it, discounted, and they couldn't sell it. And the guy said, he was the manager, he said, you know what, just please take some of it. We're going to throw it away. It's like getting, in other words, if people aren't buying it, it becomes burdensome for them. So it was definitely a hit and miss. It depends on your Home Depot. Lowe's does it too. If you live near a Menards, I'm guessing if they do wood, I actually don't know if they do wood, but I know Menards is similar to Lowe's and Home Depot. Maybe they do. I actually don't know if they have lumber. So somebody tell me in the comments down below, but I've heard of Menards. Even if you cannot get it from Lowe's or Home Depot, just go on Facebook Market. You can hit them up there and put in free wood. You will always find, no matter where you live. I've tried it in every state. You put free wood in and it always comes up. People have loads of free wood that they're giving away from pallets, just the leftover scraps, and they don't want to throw it away. So you just drive on over there, bring something you can cut it with, because it really is best to bring it home in a bag, because you really do need to clean it, ozone it, do something just to make sure you're not bringing any little critters into your house to get it clean. But these are free DIYs, and even the paint sticks, you can get those for free from Home Depot and Lowe's as well in the paint department, and you can paint them white and then stain them with the wax or paint. If you don't have that, you can even use like hair dye or eyeshadow. I mean, there's all kinds of different ways you can stain to make this really affordable. But print up a free printable, go get free wood, free paint sticks. You are looking at an awesome fall DIY that will add so much charm and festivity to your home, and literally for pennies on the dollar. This, like I said, just like the lantern, remains one of my top favorite DIYs. It looked awesome when it was done. So to finish this all up, at the time I was using burnt umber paint from Apple Barrel and some black, kind of mixing it up, and I hate to say it, but I was making it look grungy on purpose, and it came up awesome. I love this one. Let me know what you guys think. So a lot of you may recognize this. This is an empty candle. That's right. I got it at the Dollar Tree for $1, burned the candle, and I looked at it and thought, hey, this is coming with a lid. It's kind of cute. I'm going to keep it. You never know. So I kept it, and now we're making it into a super cute DIY. So keep your empty candle holders, you guys, or any kind of container with a lid, a tin can, anything like that. Just keep it. So I'm painting this with Kills Primer. As I recall, I was using that at the time because I didn't have chalk paint, and that was really good for sticking. Again, you could absolutely do the spray paint, but I kind of liked the streaks on this one for what I'm going to do. I think it added character. And I'm using khaki from Apple Barrel paint and some burnt umber, but you certainly could substitute this with any kinds of browns. So if you're using Apple Barrel, it comes in all kinds of like I mean, I was a big fan of burnt umber and khaki, but now they have chocolate, they have nutmeg, they have brown, I think. It's just called brown. They have a whole bunch of different browns. Wax would work for this. All of it would work for this. You can even add, you can see the black right there that's running into the burnt umber, because sometimes the burnt umber was a little bit too reddish. So I would just add a little black and it would just change the whole feel of it. I liked it better at the time, and I swirled it onto the lid there because I wanted it to kind of look a little woodsy. And now I just grabbed a good old-fashioned pencil right here, and I am literally just drawing lines downward. I'm thinking at the time like a pumpkin. Those are my pumpkin lines, but you can see this however you want to. I mean, it could also be shiplap. That was the vibe I was going for at the time, and I think it came up really cute. So next I had a cork at the time. Now you could also go outside and cut a branch on a tree. That's free. Super easy to get. But if you want to know how I have gotten free corks in the past, I had neighbors that were avid wine drinkers. I mean, they went wine tasting and everything. They would have tons of cork. You can also hit up a wine tasting store. Like if you live near a little town that has that, just ask them to save their wine corks for you. You can even offer just to pay. Usually they won't take money, but just hit them up. Go get the wine corks. They're free. Restaurants too, by the way, if they serve wine, are sometimes more than happy to save the wine corks for you. Again, it depends on the manager. So I took this little back of the calendar. It was like a little part of the calendar that was showing you what the prints were, and I glued it on there. You can print something online. If you're good, you can draw. If you're even better, you can paint a little pumpkin. This was a pretty simple pumpkin to do, so you probably, if you're decent at painting, you could just paint one on. It keeps the cost even down, more. So after this was dry and I got all the wrinkles out, I went ahead and Mod Podged the lid as well, because the lid was originally metal. I don't know if you guys noticed that, but I was worried, even though I was using primer, that it might chip off. And I knew I was going to handle this because I actually stored stuff in it. And that's what it looks like when we're all done. I also put the brown umber around the edge to make a little frame. This came up so unexpectedly cute. This was the most popular DIY in that video, where it got the most positive comments. It was my husband's favorite. Like I said, this was just beloved. And you don't have to use a candle holder. You could use any size container and do this DIY. It is so cute and it's useful. This is another great DIY. I took I got from the thrift store a bed skirt, and the part that lays on the box spring, the bed skirts, it's really thin. So I just taped it onto cardstock, and then I put it through an inkjet printer. Everyone asked me if I had a special printer. Nope, it's pretty much like the one I have now. It was just an inkjet. You just have to make sure you tape it down really tight, as tight as you can. And now to be honest with you, I would try the glue stick trick. I would put glue stick all over cardstock and then put my material down on that. I have seen people do it with spray adhesive. I feel like that's for me. I just try to, because I craft a lot, I try to avoid toxic stuff. And every time I look up the spray adhesives, it's like, use with plenty of ventilation, may cause cancer. And I don't want to go there. I just, ugh. So I always try to find the least toxic solution. I hope you guys appreciate that. But I would use a glue stick and then smush. I would also tape. So I would smush this material down on top of the cardstock with glue stick. I would let it dry. I would tape. Then I would put it through the printer. I'm pretty sure you wouldn't have any smearing of ink at all. Now, I did get a little bit back then, and I was good with it because, as you know, I'm making my stuff look grungy on purpose because I had the rustic decor in my home. I still love rustic decor. I still pull it out during certain times, but not a problem at the time. I'm just giving you other options in case you guys don't like that, because everybody has a different style. And of course you can choose any print you want to make these pillows out of. And the bed skirt was literally $2 from the thrift store. You can use an old bed skirt or just a thin piece of an old pillowcase that's super thin. Anything like that will work for this. And it's a free DIY. And I loved these little pillows. They're reversible. I made 3 sets of them, and I just had them in a basket in front of my fireplace just to kind of look festive and stuff. It was cute. This print right here is free. It's from a blog. I used it later on a mason jar craft as well. Also did this one reversible. But all in all, a really cost-effective craft that made a big statement again for the seasons. People would walk in and go, those are so cute. Where'd you get those? And I made them reversible, which made them even better because we just go right from fall, right? Right, we go right into Christmas. And there are so many wonderful blogs out there that give you free seasonal prints. You just put in free fall prints or whatever, and blogs want you to pull them up for that season. They want to drive you to their page because that's how they make their money. They run little ads, but they'll have free printables there for you. Their graphics fairy is a good place as well. But they came up so cute. Look at that. And for this one, we're using a Dollar Tree little wooden pumpkin and some more of that bed skirt. Bed skirts also the top of them. Again, the top that lays on top of the box spring. They often look like faux muslin, just a really thin one, which makes it easier for crafts and easier for cutting. But I'm doing the reversible thing again because I had so much fun with those pillows. So you do have to cut out a top and a bottom for these. And I go ahead, see how I'm holding that together. I'm actually cutting two pieces there because it's really thin, and I cut out a total of 7 pumpkins. And then of course I want my pumpkins to be orange. So what I do, what I always have done, is I don't go and buy Rit dye and all that because it's just not cost effective if you're just doing little crafts. I mean, if you're doing big things like t-shirts or clothing, it's different. But just for crafts, I always use paint and just rely on the pigment in the paint to stain my material. And I just add a little bit of water. For this, I'm actually painting it on, and I'm working off of like a tile and some wax paper so I don't get it messy everywhere. But you can put it in a bigger bowl if you want to do like larger quantities and pour more paint in there. Put it in a bowl and just let your material soak for like, I don't know, it happens pretty quick. It's not like you have to do it. It's not like a tea soak or a coffee soak where you need to soak it for a while. The dyes are pretty strong when you're using red and orange, anything like that, green, blue. So you just put it in there. I usually wait and just visually look at it. And when it's the color that I want, it usually happens within like 5 to 7 minutes. I'll take it out, squeeze it, and then air dry it over a piece of string or the edge of the fence or whatever. And then once it's dry, you have these, you know, and this, I wanted these to be the pastel orange because I thought that came out really pretty. It's like a peach, but you could absolutely make it stronger if you wanted. You could dye it a second time, or you could just add more paint to it. Either one will work. So on one side, I just want them to be pumpkins. I'm doing like the little pumpkin lines. And on the other side, I'm doing the jack-o'-lantern, because these are going to be reversible. So we're going to go from Halloween straight into the fall season. So all I do, this is a garland that I made for my fireplace mantle, and all I did was just flip it around to the other side once Halloween was over. You can leave the jack-o'-lantern up the whole time too. Those were really cute. I actually miss their smiling little faces. They were so cute. And they're also fall. I mean, they symbolize fall. So if you like jack-o'-lanterns, you can just leave those up all year round. Or conversely, you can just do pumpkins if you want. You don't have to do a jack-o'-lantern. And then you can get some of the little Dollar Tree clips and put, like I mentioned this in my previous video, you can clip on spiders on it. You can clip on any of the little seasonal Dollar Tree clip-ons that they sell, and it would be such a cute accent. Of course, it would save you some work if you're looking for like a fast 5-minute DIY that's super fast. You would just dye this material really quick, let it dry, cut out some pumpkins, glue them on some twine. You can either leave space in between the twine to add different festive, you know, if you want to do spiders or ghosts, or just add some Halloween in there, or you can just add some fall leaves to make it multi-dimensional and have like different themes, fall themes, I guess. Either one would be pretty, but I love the way that this came out. I just do them exactly like the pillows, where I glue the edges and then I stuff some polyfiber fill up there. And at the time, and still to this day, I go to Walmart, get the pillows there for like $3. They're so cheap, and that is such a dirt cheap way to get polyfiber fill. But if you don't even want to spend that, you could easily just stuff this with toilet paper, because back in the day, I got married really young and we had a rough start, and it was definitely like a high school love, and I still wanted beautiful home decor. So it made me really crafty. I actually thank that, because I think it was a big contributor to where I got my creativity from, because I kind of was forced to be creative. I think. I don't know for sure. Maybe I would have been creative anyway. But either way, I would have just crunched up toilet paper until it was super soft and looked the same as polyfiber fill in there. I mean, if you work toilet paper and you keep crunching it between your hands, eventually it will become soft enough to work perfect for a filling for this. You don't have to fill these if you don't want to. And you can also use cardboard in between them. I mean, it would just be a stiff version, but it would look just as cute and also very cost effective. I think it came up so cute, and again, a super affordable, festive fall decor piece that cost you almost nothing to make. I used a coffee can for this from Costco. They also sell them at Walmart. You can still get coffee cans. And I just gave it a coat of the White Kills primer. I have also spray painted these cans, so you could also spray paint it. And now I'm using the lid that came with the coffee can. You can see it's Kirkland brand right there. And I ended up cutting out 4 of these cardboard circles, and I'm going to glue them all together. So this is going to be our lid, and I didn't have quite enough of one circle there. I don't know why I ran out of cardboard. I did, but if you end up in that scenario, don't worry about it. You just take and glue that in between 2 sturdy pieces of cardboard, and that way it will brace it, so you don't have to worry about that little weak, there's obviously a seam there where I cut through it, so it's not going to be as strong, so you don't want that on the bottom or the top. Put it in the middle and sandwich it in between. So I glued 4 of them together, and then I'm taking this joint compound and I'm just going to cover this entire thing like frosting a cake. It's kind of funny because I'm looking at this now and I thought, back then no one had ever seen this. It was the first time you showed them what you do. I had been doing this since the 1990s, but I think it was like the first time on YouTube people had seen it, but I do quite a lot of it and have done a lot of it since. But it's still an awesome hack. I mean, joint compound and spackling can turn so many things into faux something, fake something. So I just did this on top of wax paper. And of course, when you do this, you also get those little lines left behind that make it look more like wood, or it just gives it texture. It just creates a really cool look. So here's the free printable. It will be down below in my description box. I'm going to cut it out so I can glue it on my coffee can, and I do use regular school glue for this. You'll see it in a minute. You can see right there the tip of it, and then I end up sealing it in with Mod Podge, and I have said that before on my channel. It doesn't really matter what you glue it down with if you're going to seal it with Mod Podge, because once you get it down, Mod Podge does an excellent job of sealing it in and keeping it down. It's not going to lift. At least that's been my experience for like 20 years. So I think it's fine. So here goes the Mod Podge, and I'm going to do the same trick I do with a wet sponge. Just kind of press it down, make sure there's no wrinkles. Now I am using a water-based acrylic stain which made a beautiful wood grain. You can still buy it on Amazon. The link is down below my description box. However, I did turn to wax because you get a bigger bang for your buck. It goes further and it creates the same effect. So you could use wax for this. You could use brown paint. It all works. I'm just making this look kind of rustic and rugged like a piece of wood. I grabbed my free wine cork and I glue it down with super glue gel. Now somebody brought up, hey, can I glue extra smaller circles of cardboard underneath and cover it with spackling so it doesn't slip off? Like it would fit into the can and not slide back and forth. Absolutely, that was a great idea. And I think this came up so beautiful. It's basically free except for the spackling, which you can grab at the Dollar Tree for $1.25, and it's useful. I actually kept my tea bags in here. This is a family fun, affordable craft, one of my favorites because it uses the towering blocks so kids can also play with those, and of course you can build great crafts with them. There's some channels out there that specialize in nothing but towering block DIYs, and they're fantastic. But back then no one had done this, and I still think it's a great idea. I glued 3 of them together, then 2 of them together, and then I just left one single and I just flipped it on either side. I'll show you the top view right there. And I was making like a little pumpkin, and I grabbed one of the little Dollar Tree blocks, stuck it on top for the stem for this one. The next one, I grabbed my free wine corks and I glued 4 of those together, and I grabbed a piece of driftwood because I used to live by the ocean, but any wood would do. I mean, literally, you go outside and if you look around, even if you have bark, like if you put bark, how people put bark down as ground cover around their plants, you can grab a piece of that and break it off. I mean, anything will work for a pumpkin stem. So I just painted this one orange, The other one I paint green. I do some dry brushing, some details with some brown paint on everything, and I add little raffia bows. And then on the orange one, I do a little curly cube with metal. It's just some metal that I got from the Dollar Tree, and I wrap it around a pencil, make a little curly cube to look like one of the little stems or curly cubes that are on pumpkins. These were actually tiered tray decor. They were meant to sit on top of a tiny tray, but they were absolutely adorable, and they're still a very affordable, very festive, very easy craft to make, and are family friendly. Oh, I love this one. I used shims because they were super cheap. I don't know what they're priced at now, but you could just grab yourself some free paint sticks that you have left over. Last time most people have those free paint sticks from Lowe's or Home Depot, anywhere that hands them out, and you just sand the writing off a little bit, paint it white, and then go from there. You have a blank slate because you can always stain the white paint. That's what I would do back in the day. And you can also use a paint stick for this part too. I was using a craft stick to make like the back of it hold together like a little palette, but you could absolutely use just some of the paint stick and cut it down. And you could also use the free wood that you collect off Facebook Market. There's all kinds of ways to do this craft for free. So once I have it nice and reinforced, I just do like kind of a rough white paint on it. And then I'm using brown paint to stain it. That's brown paint. It's like burnt umber and black mixed again. So you can stain with paint. There's your evidence. And I go ahead and I draw a super cute little scarecrow face. That's what we're making. Now I will tell you on the top, the rim of the hat there, I glued that down prematurely, and you'll see I have to tear it off because I forgot the hair has to get tucked up under there. So speaking of hair, I will tell you a little trick where I am like daylilies and even palm trees where I used to live in California. You know how they kind of die off and they give off that undergrowth? That's what I would use back in the day if I wanted to make this like a totally free craft. And of course, that's always awesome when you can do that. So here we go with the little scarecrow face. At the time, I was just using a paint pen. You could certainly use a permanent marker for this. I use a marker for his nose. And there I go. I rip off the top there. So don't make that mistake if you make him. Make sure you save the rim of the hat for after you get some little hair down. Now I'm using a Dollar Tree hula skirt. You could use raffia. And again, you could use some kind of plant life. Just make sure that I always say this, take it out, and I'll repeat it because some people miss it. Wash it in bleach water. Take it out, put it in an ozone, like I have a plastic container where I put my ozone machine in there and I turn it on for about 30 minutes. It's a very strong 30,000 milligram ozone machine, but it kills everything. But definitely clean it up before you use it for your crafting. But there's always a way to make fun, festive holiday crafts for super, super cheap. I think he came up so cute. I would love to make a big one out of the free Facebook wood. But we are a chatty bunch here. Please leave a comment down below. I read everyone and I respond, and I would love to know what you think. Here's another great family fun craft, total money saver, because I did end up using this Dollar Tree sign and covering it with craft sticks. But I always advise that if you're going to cover it with craft sticks, you could use cardboard. Anytime you're covering anything, whether it's cloth, a vinyl placemat, spackling, foil, like if you do the little glue gun trick and you do foil, always use cardboard whenever you can. If you're going to cover it, use cardboard. And it also makes it a lot more fun for my international viewers too, because you guys can absolutely participate in most of the crafts if you're not going to rely on getting Dollar Tree things. However, there are some things like if you're going to put words on your craft or something where you do have to use the Dollar Tree MDF board, but save it for that because that helps save a lot of money too. So I'm just covering this with craft sticks, and for the base you can use a paint stick, right? A free paint stick, paint it, stain it, good to go. And then I start staining each individual craft stick, and this comes up so soft and pretty. I don't feel like the camera did it justice because it was so, like when I'm doing it right now, you can kind of see how vivid and beautiful everything is. When I took the final picture, I couldn't quite get it right in the light, but it was so soft and kind of soothing, and it picked up all of the colors of autumn. I'm just using golds and different color browns and grays. Right there, that's a gray, and I wipe it off. It's just watered down paint, like a stain. And I thought it came up so beautiful. And then of course I go about embellishing it with raffia and bows, and it came up so cute. It was simple. I love this one. I create pumpkins that much more special. And that's it. And I love the way these came out. Okay, stay with me. For this one, you're just going to grab a bottle. Bottles are free. You use a paint with a primer, or you take it outside and you spray paint it. I did mine white. Then I grabbed some scrap material. So this is part of the bed skirt again that I'm going to wrap around the bottle. And then you saw some plaid material. You saw some burlap. Burlap was from Walmart at the time. Plaid material was just something I had left over. And then that's from the bed skirt. But Dollar Tree sells cream material now. Plaid usually comes out at Christmas, and I saw the burlap during the coastal time during summer. So sometimes it's seasonal, I think, with Dollar Tree. You just got to keep your eye open, but you could also just use scraps from around your house from old clothing. So I'm going to go ahead here and draw a little face on this. We are making a scarecrow again, but it is a bottle scarecrow, and the top of it, because you're probably thinking, what is the top going to be? That's going to be covered to look like his hat. And when I was doing this craft, I wasn't sure it was going to come out and look nice. And of course, if it didn't look nice, it wouldn't make it in the video, but I was so pleasantly surprised. Wait till you see how cute this guy comes out. I did use the hula skirt from the Dollar Tree for this. Again, take a stroll down your neighborhood, see what plant life is around that could mimic this. You usually find something if you walk around long enough. And then I'm taking my burlap, I'm fraying it a little bit on the edge. I cut it in a circle first. Then I'm fraying it, and then I put like a little slit on the top, and I just slipped it over, and that was his hat. I'm sorry, this guy was so funny. And I give him a little bandana at the bottom just to kind of cover where the material was. And then I'm taking and just adding hair here and there. And at the very end, I decided to wrap up the top with some sisal rope that I had. You can get this cheap at Walmart. You can also use a nautical rope from the Dollar Tree. And of course, if you have any kind of rope that's just laying around the house that's old, perfect for this. You could even use, in theory, more burlap or more grass. You could cover it with that and just tie it at the top with some dental floss. Just play around and have fun, you guys. And I end up putting some straw at the top, like shooting out of his hat. But when I look back, I could have left the bottle open and used this as a scarecrow vase and put like either leaves or something that looked like hay, but it would have been awesome. So anyway, let me know what you think. I think he is so cute, and he's almost a free craft. Going to need a Dollar Tree vase. You can also use a jar, like a mayonnaise jar or a mason jar, and you're going to need some fall leaves and some Mod Podge. Now this is going on all over online Pinterest. If you just Google fall jars, these come up in abundance. So if you want to take a look and see what I'm trying to accomplish here. I chose this old floral piece here that I've shown before, and I'm using the leaves from it because they've got those nice mellow brown ones, which I'm after, and then some bright ones here and there. And I'm taking and removing the middle plastic piece, I guess the branch there. Really simple to do, it just came right off. And of course I'm using the hairdryer trick to remove the sticker here. Now, you're always wiser in hindsight when you do these crafts. So here's this is my first time doing this kind of craft, and this is the tips that I want to share with you if you try to recreate this, because it came up absolutely gorgeous. Use leaves that are very pliable and bendable and easy, that take shape. So a better choice would have been cloth or a napkin, a fall napkin with leaves, or you can find these silk leaves that aren't so stiff. I didn't think about it when I was cutting them. Mine are very, very thick and stiff. They're high quality. So that made it very, very difficult to get them to stay flat. In the end, you'll see I actually put a blow dryer up, and I have to glue them down while I'm drying and kind of tap with my finger. And it all works out fine, but it was very difficult. Another idea too is you could find some fall leaves and print them up on tissue paper and apply it that way, the tissue paper. And you would, just anything that bends. Don't use stiff leaves, because here I am right here with the dryer. I'm pressing with my sponge and drying at the same time to get the glue to be dry enough to hold the leaf down so I don't keep lifting, it doesn't keep lifting while I'm moving and doing my craft. Now I do end up Mod Podging the whole thing, and this is the next morning, and I don't like that. Maybe it would have dried more if I had left it, because that it's possible, since those were thicker lines, that is still mildly wet under there. Sometimes Mod Podge can take a few days to dry, but I just didn't like it. So I missed the crystal clear look of the vase. Now another thing you can do too is you can do what I'm doing, but I'm showing you how easy it is to remove this. I've talked about Mod Podge being a layer of plastic, and this is really going to show you exactly how and why it really is a layer of plastic. I don't think people realize it's truly a layer of plastic. And it just comes right off. I take that Dollar Tree, that's a Dollar Tree blade right there. I stuck it in another holder, but that's from the Dollar Tree. It's their little craft knife. And I just go around and cut all around the leaves on this entire vase. It doesn't take long. It's actually kind of fascinating. I was enjoying it. And I peel all that excess off. Then I take a baby wipe and kind of wipe anything that's left over. And I end up, for me, with a much prettier result. I could have taken it outside and sprayed a clear varnish on it, because that also gives it kind of that frosted glass look. But I just wanted to stop here. I wanted my glass to be really crystal clear. I guess I only wanted the leaves and the surrounding area of the leaves to have that kind of foggy, dreamy look. I didn't want the rest of the vase to do that. And I'm using some raffia here, keeping it simple. I just want a little bit of raffia tied on the top, and that's it. This is a really stunning craft when it's done, especially in the evening. I encourage you guys to try it. Just remember to use leaves that are easier, think we're going around the bends and the corners, and they're easier to lay down on a curvature. And I'm using some fairy lights, and that's it. It came up beautiful. Here's for the next craft. You'll need 11 craft sticks. I'm actually duping a Kirkland fall pumpkin that at the time was selling for like $65. You could use any kind of wood for this too. I mean, you could make a bigger size with like fence post. Some people go and they buy like pieces of fencing at Lowe's or Home Depot. If you, again, go get the free wood off of Facebook Market, you could certainly make like a huge one for your yard or for your house, whatever you want to do. But at the time, I just want to make a little craft stick one. And you need 11 craft sticks all together. You cut the last two at an angle, and then you just hold them in the back with additional craft sticks. And it's that simple. The only thing I didn't do is I didn't do wood glue for the ones on the back, and I had to go back and redo that again. I also used 2 shims at the bottom to make a stand, but you can take that free stir paint stick that you got from Home Depot or Lowe's, use it as a stand, scrap wood as a stand. You can even go outside and probably find some kind of wood that's laying flat and glue that's on top of it as a stand. Get creative. Again, have fun. That's what this is all about. Another thing, you're always wiser in hindsight, that I didn't do with this craft that I would do differently if I did it again, is I didn't make my stem tall enough. So after I was done filming, I did end up adding an extra craft stick on top of the other craft, well, behind it, but the bow was covering it so you couldn't see it anyway. But it wasn't long enough in the final. And at first I thought, oh no, it's fine. And then I went back and watched the video, right? And somebody commented, your stem isn't long enough. And that was it. That was it. I made up my mind. I totally went to my craft room. I went, forget it. Went and got another craft stick and made the stem longer because they were right. They just said out loud what I was thinking. So I thought, thank you. I just need that little extra push. So ignore the short, stubby little stem there. Anyway, I just go about distressing this and, staining the bottom. I'm using burnt umber again, mixed with black paint to stain at the time. You can use wax. You could use just plain brown paint, anything you want. You can even use, like if you have old hair dye laying around, anything like that. Often I will have people come on and go, oh, you could coffee stain it. I don't like to do it with wood this thin like craft sticks because I'm worried it will warp. So I avoid it for that. And I like the idea of natural stains, so coffee and tea really appeals to me, but I'm not sure I'm totally impressed with the final results that you get with the wood. It's too soft, I guess, for me. I kind of like a bigger bang for the effort, so I probably would still use like watered down brown paint to either soak it or just to brush it on. But you can also go during the springtime and summertime and pick flowers out of your neighborhood, out of your yard, hang them upside down in your garage and dry them. I used to do that when I lived up in the mountains when money was tight, and I would use those dried flowers as decor on my craft pieces. I also kept any kind of bouquet people gave me and I hung it upside down, and it really did work wonderful. I love dried flowers, and especially for fall, that's perfect. So they even have tutorials now for paper flowers online, all kinds of ways you can pull this off for almost free. And I'm doing another little curly cube with the wire from the Dollar Tree, and there you go, see, no stem. But I do love the way this came out. I think it's a great idea. Just make sure you make your stem long enough. For this next one, I used really thick quality cardboard, and I had some leftover pumpkins from the Dollar Tree from the year before because I remember they were late putting out their fall stuff that year. And I used to live by hole-in-the-wall Dollar Trees. That's what I called them, hole-in-the-wall. I also want to show my international viewers again that you can make this without Dollar Tree. Just get really good quality cardboard. You're not going to see the bumps if you cover them with material or good quality thick craft paper. If you use wrapping paper, you might see the bumps, and if that's a concern, you can put poster board on top of this, and if it's big enough, you can use a cereal box as well, which is free, and cover it to make the surface smooth. And now I'm just covering it in my craft paper and making sure it fits. It's a little bit too short, so I do have to cut a little extra off just to take care of the stem. I cover most of my DIYs using glue sticks, and the Dollar Tree glue sticks have always worked really well for me. If you buy the Elmer's extra strong one, that is a little bit better for like heavier, dutier things, like if you're going to try and glue vinyl down or something on top of the cardboard. But for paper, the Dollar Tree glue sticks are fine. I think I've even done more with it than that, but you just have to be really, really generous. So you'll see me rubbing back and forth, and there's a ton, and I didn't miss one little section, but they come like, I think 8 to a package for $1.25. I mean, you can afford to be generous. So I'm taking leaves from that piece right there. That's what I ended up covering that light with. I showed you earlier that was like in the luminary at night, that vase. That's the one I took apart, but I still had it there for a little bit of embellishment. And I'm just gluing raffia on bows, some fall leaves. And this is the part that I think is really important with cardboard. If you're going to do cardboard, at least for me, I have to make sure the sides are covered, because if everything's covered, no one's going to know. No one's ever going to know. It's just going to look really pretty. This was actually at the bottom to the side of my mantle near my fireplace in my other home, and it was so cute. It was huge, actually. It came up to like your knees, and everyone thought it was absolutely adorable, and they just assumed that I bought like wood pieces or decorative pieces from a craft store like Hobby Lobby. So I did singe off all the little hairs, and then now I'm taking some extra wood. I believe this wood was from Dollar Tree, but again, scrap wood. That works fine, just to get it to stand. And I do have to use a towering block behind it, and I'm testing it right there to make sure it stands up, but we're all done. And I think this came up so cute. For this craft, you're going to need the foam dice from the Dollar Tree, a piece of wood, I'm using the plank from the Dollar Tree, and some letter stickers of your choice. Now I'm using Craft Smart acrylic white paint for this. I love that paint in white. It is so similar in coverage to a chalk paint. In fact, I think it performs the same. I do have to dry these thoroughly, and they dry really quick. It's a nice material to paint on for that reason. It's very porous and it soaks up the paint and dries really quick. And I do have to do a second coat in order to cover it enough that you can't see those little dots through anymore. And then I'm taking the color, it's an orange color called Pumpkin. It's actually called Pumpkin. And I'm just sponging it on nice and light. Now it's a little brighter than I wanted. I would have liked a softer orange, but that was all I had. And I knew by the time I distressed this and dry brushed it, it wasn't really going to be that much of an issue anyway. So now I'm using my favorite color, and I hope they still sell this. I saw it online. I don't know if it's some overstock thing, but it's Country Tan by Apple Barrel. They don't carry it in my Walmart. I have yet to go into an actual craft store and look for it, and hopefully you can buy it online. But I love that color for light distressing. That paint, I think I've had it for like 15 years. It's still going strong because I really only use it for light distressing. And now I'm just using the antiquing wax. Most of them come in brown, and I did see one in gray once, but most of them come in brown, so any antiquing wax will work. You just use it to stain the wood, and you can leave the wood raw if you want, or you can paint it white. And then I use the little stickers to spell out the word fall. Now, as you can see, I have them set up this way with the F and the L next to each other and the A and the L next to each other. I think it took me 3 hours to make a final decision here, but I do end up moving the L's on the bottom and the FA on the top. Let me know which way you like it better. But I think because it was coming up way cuter than what I had envisioned, I really wanted it to be perfect, and it just felt more balanced with the L's at the bottom. So as you can see, I took some more of that Country Tan paint and I just dry brushed the letters a little bit because I wanted them to blend in. They were popping a little bit too loud for my taste. And I'm gluing the little foam blocks together. Now that's important if you make this craft. Make sure you glue the blocks together in sets of 2 first, because you see what I'm holding up there? That is a wine cork I had to slice super wafer thin because I did have to add it to one side so that they're not lopsided, because the little cubes are not made perfectly uniform. You can't see it at all because it's a foam material and it kind of squishes over everything, so I'm pretty sure even a penny would work if you don't have a cork. But if you run into that problem, you can fix it. And then of course I glued those 2 cubes down on top of each other. And now I'm using the little wood piece from the Dollar Tree. I'm pretty sure these are like little miniature birch wood pieces. Birch wood is really popular, and I always wonder what they do with the smaller stems. And I think they're selling them off to the Dollar Tree, because if you study those little wood pieces up close, they have the same little notches, like the little marks. If you guys watch my video on how to DIY your own birch wood, you can see that I took pencil and made those little lines, and these little stems actually have that. So I'm pretty sure they're birchwood. I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure, you know, because it's still popular and they look really, really cute. I'm going to glue him down on top of this stand, and I think he came up so, so cute. Let me know what you think. But this is one of those crafts, I was making it and I wasn't really sure how it was going to turn out. And again, it was one of those, you know, where my husband saw it and went, ooh, it just came up so, so unexpectedly cute. For this DIY, you're going to need a Dollar Tree pumpkin and one of these cookie baking trays, and I'm just going to take the pumpkin and trace out the tray. This is a really easy way to give your cheap little pumpkin from the Dollar Tree a quick facelift. I love working with their baking trays. They give an instant metal look, and I love the bumpy texture. I think that's a cool look. And here I'm wearing gloves. You can see I'm cutting off the stiff edge, and that kind of ensures that you won't get cut. But if you watch what I'm doing, the minute I start going around and that edge is bending towards my hand, I cut it off and let it fall. And that's the safest way that you can cut these trays so that you don't get cut, is by getting the stiff edge off, and then when you cut, bending the piece. If you're right-handed, it would be the piece on the outer right hand side. You can see it right there. It's starting to bend on the outer right hand side. If you keep going up, the edges of that risk cutting your skin. So see how I just clipped it away? That's the safe way to cut these. I have never gotten cut yet, and I do wear gloves just to be careful, but it sure is worth taking your time to cut them out because they really do add a higher end to a cheap pumpkin from a dollar store. Now, for those of you that don't live by a Dollar Tree, or don't have good Dollar Trees, or you don't have Dollar Trees that have their fall items out just yet, you can easily substitute cardboard for this. I would just suggest cutting the foil baking pan bigger so you can bend it over the edge of that cardboard, and then covering the back of your little pumpkin with brown paper, felt, just something to make sure you don't get cut on the edges of the foil, because it'll be harder. Just with cardboard, it's harder to get those edges. You know, if you put the twine on the edge of the cardboard, it doesn't quite protect you from the edges of the foil. I don't know why, but I found that it just doesn't work quite as well. So here you saw me use hot glue, and now you see me using my glove to press it down. The metal does conduct heat, so be careful you don't get burned. You are going to need some kind of heating pad or glove to press that down. And here I'm taking scissors, I'm cutting the edges of the foil off so that what I just talked about doesn't happen. I won't get cut. I even use a blade, which I don't bother showing on film, to go really close to the edge, and I wear magnifying glasses that you can get from the Dollar Tree just to make sure I don't miss any edge, because when I pick this up, I don't want to accidentally get cut, and I don't want anyone else to either. So now I'm using the color Country Gray by Apple Barrel, and I'm just going to sponge it all over the front of the foil to hide that it's foil. This method is going to leave behind just enough shine and sparkle to give away that it is a metal piece. You know, for the naked eye, if someone looks at it, they'll register that it's a metal piece, but without it leaving too much shine behind, because I think, you know, the cookie trays are a wonderful trick to have a faux metal piece like you got it from a craft store. And if, by the way, if you do decide to do cardboard, you could glue 3 cardboard pumpkins together and really bend it over the edge to make it look like a super thick metal pumpkin. That would also be super cute. But you do have to cover the shine a little bit. Whatever color you want to use, you don't have to use gray. I like using gray. You don't have to. You could do it a different color because they do have painted metal in the craft stores, but you definitely have to tone that shine down. So now I'm doing the little curvatures, and I left this part in. I'm wiping it. You see that? I just turn my sponge sideways and wipe it away. And I left this on purpose so you can see how easy it is to make corrections. Now that gray paint was already dry, so you do have to spray a little bit of a clear varnish over this craft piece when you're done. You could use hairspray for this particular piece. That would be fine. But I just keep working with it until I get curvatures I'm happy with. You could always do a pattern if you want. I did it freehand, so I did have to make some adjustments, but I wanted to show you how easy it was to make those adjustments. Now I'm making a messy bow, and the ribbon I'm holding right now, the buffalo plaid, and that red striped, ticking stripe one that I was holding before, both of those come from other places. The buffalo check comes from Amazon, and the ticking stripe one came from Etsy. They're all sold out on Etsy. The buffalo check, I believe, is in a link down below in my description box if you're interested in that one. And the rest are Dollar Tree ribbons, and you just cut them all in different pieces, you tie them together, and voila, you have a messy bow. And I absolutely love this look for autumn. I don't know why, but I'm really into the messy bows right now. I think they are so cute looking. And I took the leaf off of this pumpkin, turned it around. I also gave it some dimension with the nutmeg color, and I'm taking that burlap leaf, which is also from the Dollar Tree. I'm going to glue it behind there, and I'm just doing embellishments. But if you're into farmhouse neutral, this is such a perfect craft piece. It looks so cute. And of course, last but not least, a raffia bow. I love raffia at fall time, and I just think this came up so cute. there's my inspiration piece. It's $6.99 online, and I thought we can make this a lot cheaper. Here's a Dollar Tree mason jar and one calendar, and I've been saving it for this print right here because I knew I wanted to use it for fall. You can use any print you want, and if you Google free autumn prints, so many blogs come on and they have absolutely gorgeous prints that they offer for free. They want you to go to their blog, obviously, but look around online and find a print that you really like because it's easy to do. They're very generous, I noticed, at the holidays. So for autumn and even Christmas, there's so many free printables out there for you. Now, you see me using the super thick cardboard again for this craft. So I have a couple of ideas with this mason jar, and I didn't want to use the original for that. And I always like to show you how you can do it cheaper too. Now here's the glue stick from the Dollar Tree. I love this glue stick. You have to apply it really, really heavily, but it stops your print, especially if you're using thin paper, it stops it from wrinkling up and buckling up when you glue it down. And this is some burlap I got from Walmart. It was cheap. I think it was $4 something a yard. And I got half a yard, but it's bent in half, so it's been lasting me now 2 years. So not a bad price. And I'm just going to glue it on the back. I did fray it a little bit on the bottom, just so it has that nice frayed look. And I don't know if you're going to see here in a minute there. Can you see the lines from the cardboard? Usually I talk about if you want to get rid of those, use poster board or something on top of your cardboard. But with this particular craft, I wanted those lines to show through because I want this to look kind of like a white metal picture and just give that illusion, I guess. Now I do seal this with clear varnish. You could seal it with hairspray if you're not going to use it again, or if it's not a keepsake craft that you're going to keep a long time. The problem with hairspray and why I didn't suggest it before, I have suggested it in previous videos, but what I discovered is after about 3 years, my craft underneath the Mod Podge had all yellow veins through it, so I think it was a hairspray that yellowed. And unless you know your hairspray doesn't yellow, or if you know you recycle your crafts a lot and you're just not going to keep them that long, so it's not important, I don't recommend hairspray anymore. I usually just recommend the clear polyacrylic or the clear varnish in matte. Just mist it, and that way you don't have to worry about that. But another trick too is if your cardboard is warping, let's say you only have thin cardboard, just cut out about 2 or 3 of them and glue them together and cover your craft that way. That way you won't have the buckling. Let's say you don't have free paint sticks and you don't have craft sticks and you are needing to still make this look nice and heavy and not have it buckle or warp. That's another trick. You just use multiple layers of cardboard because cardboard obviously is a form of wood and it gets thicker and thicker with the more that you put together. But this is the final result. For this DIY, you're going to need a Dollar Tree maple leaf and a stain of your choice. I'm using this water-based acrylic stain. It's down below in my description box. There's a link that will take you to it on the Amazon store. And on this craft, I do stain the front and the back. This part is a little different, I know, but I wanted burlap on wire, and the only way I could think to accomplish this was to cut the wire off of this ribbon. I'm going to set that ribbon aside and use it for another craft, but this gave me that spindly little, you can see what I'm doing there, I'm kind of bunching it up. It's kind of like a messy bow, but it's all wires. I just wanted it to kind of resemble more like a woodsy look or branches because this is a maple leaf, so I didn't want it the craft to be completely droopy. So that was how I went about doing that. And for this one, I'm going to use the actual ribbon. So I cut the wire off and I'm going to cut this ribbon in half. And this one, I do want it to flow gently down the maple leaf. And here's a little trick, I've shown it before, but if you just float a flame over the edge of your ribbon, it will completely stop it from fraying because these ribbons are usually polyester and it just lightly melts the edges and seals them up nicely for you. So I knew the stem of the maple leaf was very narrow and it was going to be a bit of a challenge to put a lot of flowing ribbon hanging off of it on such a small stem without it bulging over the side, and I didn't want a big bow at the top because that would cover the maple leaf shape. So I tied this really narrow at the top for now and I set it aside, and then I took some of the Dollar Tree hula skirt and I did the same thing. I just took about, what are those, like 8 strips maybe of the hula skirt, and I'm tying it into a thin knot at the top. So this turns out skinny enough where I feel comfortable gluing it on the front, plus I'm after that little spray right there that I trimmed. I think that looks really neat. That adds that Scarecrow kind of fall vibe. And I'm taking some actual raffia here and tying it around the stem to give the stem a little bit more of a subtle bulk. You know, I'm just trying to get all these little things on there in a way where it will cover it up, because I'm going to be gluing the buffalo ribbon on the back behind all of that. Using the Dollar Tree lace ribbon, I'm just wrapping it around the width of my hand because we're going to make a nice little bow here and spray it out. And this is just your simple bow where you tie it in the middle with some of the Dollar Tree twine. I take some of that lace ribbon and bend it in half, not completely even. One of the lengths is a little shorter than the other, and I glue that down because that side was a little empty, but there I go. I'm gluing that bow on that I just made. You can see the twine in the middle. All I did was tie it in the middle with twine, and here comes our spindly little, I don't know, fallish kind of decor embellishment. And I glued the berries on the top and a button, and then last we're just going to outline that with the black marker pen because I didn't feel like the maple leaf stood out enough. And to make a really cute complimentary hanger, I'm going to string up these wood beads and glue them on the back. And a lot of you may know this trick already. I just put a little hot glue on the end of that twine there because it was fraying and getting more difficult to thread. Wait till it cools down, that it's comfortable enough to touch. Spin it with your fingers, and then you have a nice stiff end to go ahead and finish threading it through the wooden beads. So you do have to glue it on the edge of the fall leaf there, or it will kind of squish together, but I think this came up gorgeous. For this next DIY, you're going to need this free printable I designed. It's down below in my description box. And again, I printed it up on tissue paper. All I did was just tape tissue paper onto computer paper and ran it through. And you're going to need some paint sticks. And I'm just going to bunch all of these paint sticks together. I use 10 altogether for this craft. So I bunch 8 up, and then I take one, cut it, and then the other one and cut it, and I'm going to glue it on either end so that it's like a palette sign. Country farmhouse signs, anything that's kind of rustic or primitive is one of the few times I don't mind the end of the paint sticks showing. I think it adds to the craft, those little holes in between. I just kind of alternate them, and sometimes I leave 2 together because it just looks like the wood is kind of chipping out or whatever. I don't know. I think it gives a nice edge or design to the sign. Not always, but some crafts I really like that, and this is one of them. So I'm just cutting this out kind of in a, like, I'm not doing a square, you can see what I'm doing here. I'm just kind of cutting around the shape of the printout, and it's because the tissue paper, you can hardly see it unless you walk up close. So it doesn't have to be a perfect square or torn edges. It's just, I love this method. I don't know why, I just do. And we're just taking good old-fashioned Mod Podge, and we're going to Mod Podge this puppy down. And now I'm taking some of the free wood I've spoken about in past videos that's called dunnage blocks, D-U-N-N-A-G-E, dunnage blocks. They throw them out usually at Home Depot or Lowe's or I think it's most lumber yards. And if you've got a nice manager, they will give it to you, and you can cut them up and use them for bases, and they're very heavy, and best of all, they're free. And that's just a scrap piece of wood on the back, and we're going to use this as the stand to hold this cute little sign up. And then I thought it would be fun to add a little Spanish moss at the bottom to make it have a farm feel, because that's definitely autumn, even if you don't do farmhouse. I've spoken about that in videos too, with all the pumpkin patches and hay rides, and you do end up doing the farm thing. So I'm just making a simple bow out of the black and white buffalo check ribbon there. I wrapped it in twine, and we're shaping it a little bit there, and that's it. I wanted to keep mine really simple. Now, I didn't know if I should add pumpkins on the bottom or not, and I would love to hear back from you guys. You're going to need 4 maple leaves from the Dollar Tree. Now you can get them anywhere. If you want, you can find maple leaves online, hold a piece of paper up to your computer screen, trace it out, and then create them the exact same way I made the lid with the coffee can. That would work fine, but you need some leaves. You can definitely use a sign like she's talking about, but I recommend you listen to me instead and get some free wood, because it would be so much easier. But if you have an old sign from like a thrift store or something like that, then this still stays within the $2 and under range, so it would work. Watering it down with a little bit of water, and this is how I'm going to go about creating faux wood grain for this craft. And just in case you didn't notice, I did paint those maple leaves white, and now I'm taking some burnt umber paint by Apple Barrel. No black in it, just burnt umber this time, and I'm going to go around and edge all of the leaves to make them a little bit more rustic and a little bit more, I don't know, to me this looks more woodsy, like a forest, and it adds a lot of dimension, and it makes the maple leaf kind of pop a little bit, and I think that's going to be really, look at that, it is really, really pretty. So there's what you have when you're finished. And now I'm taking some of the Dollar Tree wooden letters, and I'm going to use them like a stencil and trace out the word fall, first with pencil and then with a Sharpie in black. And I decide after a lot of thought that I want these leaves to look like they're falling. So I start with that color from the Dollar Tree by Crayola, which I talked about in my previous videos. It's so see-through and transparent, it makes a wonderful stain, and it just leaves behind a really warm cinnamon-like color, as you can see on that one leaf. And then I take a mustard color, it's called gold something, but you can use any kind of warm yellow that you want. And I have a deep wine burgundy color, but it kind of comes out a little too pink. And don't worry about it, because we're going to be adding some warmth on top of these leaves. We're not done yet. This is just the base color. And now I'm doing orange for the letter F. So now I decide to take the rest of that watered down burnt umber that's mixed with black and paint it on top of all of these colors to darken them up and make them look a little weathered and rustic. And really what my goal is here is to try to make them look more like a real leaf that you would see on the ground. It kind of has all those different like dirty brown spots in and stuff, and I know you guys know what I'm talking about. If you look at a leaf up close, that's what we're aiming for here. And it should look close to that when you're done. Then you lay them on the canvas at the angles that you like, and I'm using a little bit of hot glue to hold them down. And I love raffia, you guys. Now you can use the hula skirt if you have it, but for this particular craft I wanted to use the real raffia because it's a little bit thinner and it looks more like straw. That a little tiny bow on the top of each one of those maple leaves will be so, so cute and so farmhouse sweet. So I go ahead and put a bow on to cover the little tiny hole up at the top, and then I hold it up and I decide I'm going to put a little spray of raffia on the top as well. And there we go. And it came out super cute, you guys. I mean, it's just your stereotyped typical beautiful fall craft with the fall colors, with the feeling of fall from the raffia and the wood grain in the back. It came out super, super cute, and I hope you guys get to try this craft as well. So here are those famous dunnage blocks that I talked so much about, and I should bring them up again because they're still free and they're great crafting wood. They are at Home Depot, Lowe's. They throw them away or they turn them in to use them for mulch. But see those right there at the bottom that bring in the big heavy pallets of plywood? That's their only purpose. And they're not meant for resale. The guy told me they throw them away or they'll send them back to grind them up for mulch. Again, it depends on the manager if they want to give them to you, but they have that natural groove in there. They make great stands. For this craft, I used it. If you have extra 2x4s, and honestly, I think if you go get free wood off of Facebook, you can get wood that doesn't have the groove because you don't need it for every craft. You couldn't see it because with this craft, I put it in the back. But it would be probably even better if you didn't have the groove for this craft, but they make excellent stands because of that groove. Just really fun to craft with. So I took a wine cork and did polka dots on one of them. All of these, I did a whitewash. I wanted to see the wood through it a little bit. I definitely wanted this to be rustic. And then I take little tiny pieces of, you won't believe this, wine cork that I cut super wafer thin because I didn't have any stickers and I wanted the perfect little polka dotted like reverse one. So I just put a tiny dot of hot glue on just to hold them in place. Then I sponged on the orange paint and we got some polka dots. Then I took masking tape and I did the orange paint there, pulled the tape off, and we got some stripes. And when I look at it right here, I realize I should have glued it like that and spelt the words like that. You know what I mean? I think if you do this craft, know that you have choices. I did it this way where it was vertical, but I actually think horizontal when I see it on, I'm looking back now on video, I think it would have been prettier horizontal. Anyway, I end up spelling out fall, sweet fall, like home, sweet home. And I just use a mix of the brown like wood letters from the Dollar Tree, some of their stencils. You can do this however you want to. If you have a Cricut, you can cut it out, or you can use some paper, scribble on the back of it with some pencil and get, letters that way. And you can trace them right off your computer screen and do that too. You can trace them right off your computer screen and then scribble pencil on the back of that paper and it will work perfect. Anyway, I do a little bit of raffia. I don't want too much because these are rustic looking, but they were all done and I thought it was sweet for being free. For this next craft, you're going to need this Dollar Tree cute little pillow, some burlap, and a pumpkin template, and some buttons or any kind of embellishment you'd like. I'm going with some buttons that I took off from another craft. Some of you may remember I painted a chocolate box. It had some buttons on the top there, and I took those and saved those because they were wood. Yes. And I'm just taking my pen and tracing out the pumpkin shape. This is a really simple, fast DIY, but it's one of those really simple, classy, clean. I don't know if you guys know what I'm talking about. Sometimes with crafts, less is more. It just ends up looking really, really sharp. So I cut out a pumpkin shape with a burlap. I glue it onto the front of this pillow, and I'm going to put some embellishment on, and that's it. These pillows, I hope you can find them because they scream sweater weather. They are the perfect cozy little pillow for fall and Christmas coming up. I bought 4 of them, and I've got some great ideas coming up, but they're already done. They're already furry and soft and cute, and they make excellent stuff, like little stuffers for baskets or metal big crates that you have. It depends what kind of decor you're doing, but these little tiny pillows are great accent decor pieces. Oh, these 2 pumpkins were so fun to make. I had cinnamon sticks that I got super cheap. That is Dollar Tree checkers. If you have old checkers or old games, you can find that kind of stuff at the thrift store as well. Anything round goes for a pumpkin today, so save your jar lids. Instead of the checkers, use lids. It would be free and it would totally look cute. And you just paint those orange and then you glue it around anything round. You could also go outside and get a branch. This whole thing can be free. Circles, branch. You know what would be really cute too is if you do have a nice saw, like a table saw or something, you could cut really thin round. You could just get a long like tree trunk, you know what I mean? That's kind of thinner, and then cut that in little thin circles and do exactly what I'm doing right here, and then add little leaves and raffia and make a cute pumpkin that's all wood from like the center out to the circles. That would be so cute. That's actually a really good idea. That's how I come up with my ideas, by the way. But anyway, there it is. That one came up totally cute. This one, the Dollar Tree shower curtain rings, but you could use old shower curtain rings that you have at home. I'm using a hula skirt. Again, you could use the daylilies, the little dried, the growth underneath, the undergrowth. You can dry those out. You can go around, look for palms off a palm tree, anything like that, and let it dry out and turn brown, and you can wrap it up, anything like this. So old shower rings, dried plant life. This has the potential to be a totally free DIY. I take and I wrap these and I use a cinnamon stick just like I did before, but if I didn't want to spend any money, I would again use some, I think I probably would go out and cut a bunch of stems. I might do that this year because I love that. I think it's fun, and why pay for them? And then just do my little ozone treatment and we'll have all this free wood that we can craft with. That would be fun. But you can use that, glue it all the way around. So cute. And hey, I would love to hear down below in the comments if you guys can think of any more circular stuff, like besides what we see online, what people have already done, because there are infinite possibilities for pumpkins, and I love the ideas that they come up with now. I mean, it used to be so basic. You had to buy a pumpkin, like, from the store, or it didn't count. And now you can just make pumpkins out of so many different things, and you get so many cute looks. These two babies came up so sweet. And again, they're tiered tray decor. I made a beautiful crackled tiered tray. I gave that away and I totally regret that because I loved that tray. It was perfect for the fall season. But anyway, I'm glad that I didn't really take anything with me at all when I moved. I just took my clothes in my car. I gave away all this stuff, but I don't care because I'm going to have fun making it all again. It's all good. Anyway, check these out, you guys. They are so sweet. I'm going to make it using shims. You could use paint sticks or whatever you want. And I'm starting off by using some black paint and painting my shims. You could also use a dark charcoal gray if you wanted to do that route. And I'm going to take and dry brush some white paint over it. Now, my camera turned off when I was dry brushing and when I glued the frame together, and it was driving me nuts. I didn't have the anyway. Sorry about that. But dry brushing, for those of you that don't know, is where you just put a tiny bit of paint on your brush. It would be white paint in this instance. And I dab it a little bit on a paper towel and then gently sweep it over the wood until you come up with this look here, which kind of imitates an old barn wood look. And that's it. And so I'm using some Dollar Tree florals now. I'm cutting them up. This piece here came from the Goodwill. It was just these big floral pieces. I don't even know what they were, but they were only 50 cents and I knew I could cut them up and use them for crafting. And I'm just wrapping a piece of it together using some of the hula skirt raffia from the Dollar Tree. And we're going to go about decorating this frame just like what we saw. And I'm also going to do a messy bow again. I love them. You're going to see a lot of them. I think they're such a cute trend. They're so fun to make. I think I like them because it allows you to put so many different ribbons in the bow. Whereas when you do a regular bow, it's harder to get all those variations. I mean, you could loop a bunch of ribbon together, but you would waste a lot of ribbon to get the same vibe, I guess. And so that's not very cost effective. And they also look very dressy. If you go too big with those and use too much ribbon, you can almost look like a wedding bouquet. So these are just a really fun trend. I'm really enjoying. They're not overly dressy. They kind of keep that look of, if you want to go a little rustic, especially with fall, even if you don't do farmhouse, fall kind of lends itself to farmhouse just because of the pumpkin patches and the hay rides. A lot of the decor kind of revolves around that theme. So these are just, in my opinion, a perfect bow for that. So I'm also going to take some raffia. I always try to add a little bit of that in with every fall craft because I think it gives it that edge that really signals it's an autumn craft. And I'm taking a mop thread. That's just a Dollar Tree mop thread there to tie this bow together. And that's it. When you're done tying it together, you just fluff these bows out and kind of twist them and make them, so you can see me doing it here, just kind of, play with them a little bit until you get them spread out so all the pretty little different ribbons show. And you can also do this with material too. I think that would look really pretty if you wanted one that was kind of frayed. That would look really cute. And I'm taking some ribbon now, twisting it at the top so that it doesn't hang over the edge, so I'm able to hot glue it where I want it on the top. And that's it. I'm going to glue the bow down, the florals down, and we're going to end up with a super pretty decor piece that you can either hang on the front door, which you saw in the photo on Pinterest. In my home, it's hung in a window that I made from an old picture I got at the Goodwill. I actually just grabbed a picture, I think it was about $11, got some wood from Home Depot, and used some glue to glue it on like a window. And that was you're going to see it when it comes up in the finale, but my window was really simple to make and it's super heavy and people think it's a real window. So that was kind of a neat thing I wanted to share with you. And at the very end, I'm going to glue some raffia on the top too to hang it. I just thought it would be kind of different to glue it in the front and then have that extra accent because the frame was very plain, rather than glue it behind. I usually put twine or something behind things to hang it, but in this instance I wanted the raffia in the front. And now I'm taking some leftover shims and I'm cutting them kind of roughly with a wire cutter there, and I'm just breaking them so that they look like an old little farmhouse sign. And I'm using this antique wax. You can use any brand of antique wax you want for this. You can use a water-based stain that I often talk about. It's an acrylic one, also down below in my description box. It's odorless. That would work great for this too. And I'm just going to make this a little bit, dirty. Well, not dirty, a little stained. And because it went a little darker than I wanted, and because the wax is kind of more greasy and oily, I was able to take a baby wipe and blend it in and wipe it off so it became a little bit lighter, which was nice. This is why I kind of steered away from the water-based stain, because I knew it would soak in like crazy, and then you can't do anything after that but dry brush a lighter color on top. So I went with the wax. And I write Happy Fall, glue it down, and that's it. I'm gluing the top raffia on that I mentioned earlier, and I think this again came up so cute, and it's super easy to do. Anyone can make this DIY. I have sped this up a little bit, but this is obviously a free craft if you have the wood. Go cut a big piece of wood because it was so adorable. This is just a print. I will leave it down below. I used tissue paper and it was so transparent. This literally looked like it was either burned on or painted on. It was so beautiful when it was done. My neighbor got it. She loves it. She still sends me pictures and says she leaves it up all year. She doesn't just leave this for fall because she loves owls. So I gave it to her. Love this though. And simple to make. And if you have the wood, right? If you go do that, tissue paper, or again, if you can paint really well, totally a free craft. And it was stunning when I was finished. So all I did was take my glue stick, put this on, and then I did seal it in with Mod Podge while it was still kind of wet from the glue stick. It was really remarkable. I didn't get one single wrinkle on this. This was probably the most, I guess, the flattest and most amazing Mod Podge job I have ever done with tissue paper. It just came up beautiful. Highly recommended craft. a coffee can craft, and I thought it would be fun to do. I used the coffee can from Walmart. My Walmart still sells coffee cans in their brand of coffee. Kirkland's, if you go to Costco, still sells coffee cans. You can also get Kirkland brand coffee on Amazon. And one of my subscribers came on last year and said that the paint cans at Home Depot, Lowe's, etc., like home improvement stores, are super cheap and would make a great substitute. You can also go to restaurants and ask them to save you one. There's a couple options there, but I love coffee can crafts. I have a whole video on it. If you missed it, I'll be leaving that link down below in my description box as well. It's a great video. So I'm just starting off with some of my homemade chalk paint, and I'm giving this a nice thick coat of white paint. And here's a free printable that I created for you. It will be down below in my description box, and you can get that as well. And I started out by just cutting it with some scissors, and then I'm going to go ahead and use Mod Podge to stick it down. Now the trick here with the coffee can, if it has grooves like this, is you do have to use Mod Podge. The glue stick will not work. For those of you that watch my channel, you know I love the glue stick, and it's so great for so many applications. It doesn't leave wrinkles because it's a very dry glue, and you can always seal it in with a varnish and then put Mod Podge on top. You know, there's lots of things you can do with that. So with this one, you do need a wet sponge ready to go, not too wet, and you do need to use Mod Podge, and you do have to press really hard. Not so hard that you tear the paper, but hard enough to make sure that you don't have any wrinkles, and it will take shape to those little grooves. And see how I'm kind of deliberately sticking the sponge in those grooves, and it works beautifully. So also one thing you want to do as well is you don't want to, like if you sense that your sponge has the Mod Podge on it a little bit, try not to use that side of the sponge. Switch it around, use different sides, because you can accidentally tear it or lift it up if it gets too sticky from the Mod Podge. These are some Dollar Tree spoons. So well, I didn't have the right color, so I just took some regular green paint and regular orange paint and mixed it in with white paint until I got these nice, soft, kind of muted colors. And then I used the color Antique Parchment from Apple Barrel Paint to get my nice cream color. And I'm painting both the front and the back of these spoons. And then I take some of my antiquing wax. Any antiquing wax will work. I'm using the one from Folk Art. I love that one. And I'm just going to go ahead and kind of do a quick little faux wood on the handle there. And then you're also going to see me go up and distress the top of the spoons with the wax as well. I'm also using the antique wax to go ahead and distress my little coffee can and make it look a little more fallish. I don't know if that's a word, fallish, but I want it to look more like the colors of autumn. So I'm just using this brush, tapping it on lightly, smearing it, and just doing it by eye, relaxing. Take your time if you do this and have fun. Next, I'm using a regular old pencil. You don't have to use anything fancy for this. And I'm just going to kind of color in some grooves here to make, we're making pumpkins here, like a little mini pumpkin patch. And the pencil works just fine to add that character there. And then I take the raffia. It comes in a set of 3. It's also down below in my description box if you're interested. It comes in green, red, and this traditional color here. And I just double looped it and then tied a bow. And then I'm going to go ahead and cut the craft sticks. Well, I did cut the craft sticks, and then I cut them at the angle on the top to kind of imitate the pumpkin stem, and I'm just going to glue them on the top of the plastic spoons. And then I'm just using the furniture pen from the Dollar Tree. If you guys haven't gotten those, make sure you pick those up. They are so great for quick and handy, like distressing or staining. That is the color Walnut. It comes in like a redwood type color and a black color. My favorite's the walnut one. I use the black one occasionally, but I haven't used the red one yet. But next I'm going to take the Spanish moss, and I'm just going to kind of crunch it up in my hand. I'm going to add it at the top of the pumpkin near the stem there, and then we're also going to add it at the bottom just to create a little bit more of the shape of the pumpkin, like the illusion to the eye, so it's not so oblong. And then I went ahead and I added some tissue paper at the bottom. You could use a plastic bag. I chose tissue paper so that I can kind of puncture it. I actually stuck my scissors through the Spanish moss and poked some holes down there to get these little guys to stand up straight. But we're all done, and I absolutely love this. This is probably going to be my last baby can formula DIY, just because my daughter's little boy stopped drinking the formula. He's on milk now, so I'm going to make the best of it here. But I went ahead and I removed the bottom of this. Now, I did this DIY back in May and it came up so beautiful, and I mentioned in that video that I felt like doing 50 of these, so I definitely wanted to do one more. Even I think I might do more. I just think these are absolutely gorgeous. I don't know why. I'm obsessed with these little pocket cans, and I like the one that's made out of cardboard here because obviously it's a lot easier to manipulate. And you know, I don't have any heavy machinery. I don't even think I have a rubber mallet at this time, so I really needed something that I could just work with simple tools, my hands, pliers, needle nose, that kind of thing. So once I shaped it into a pretty flat looking pocket, that's why they call it a pocket can, and you paint it, you can't even tell it's not a can, it's just beautiful, you'll see. But I'm just giving it one coat of my homemade white chalk paint. Here's an imagery that I found on Pinterest. She actually made a pocket can and used this imagery, and I thought it was one of the best ones I saw on Pinterest. So if that person happens to see this video, because I tried to find out who it was, but unfortunately it was shared from somebody else who shared it from someone else. It was impossible. But if you happen to see it, 1 in a million chances, you did an amazing job. So I printed this off, and it will be a free printable down below for you as well. Printed it up on the tissue paper again, using my glue stick again. These are still the best way if you don't have a Cricut, and even if you have a Cricut and you want to get more intricate imagery down on your craft, this is the best and easiest way to do it, most discreet way to do it, unless you can paint really well. So I'm just taking and applying that, pressing out the wrinkles, and now I'm adding some of the antiquing wax. Any antiquing wax will work for this. I'm using the brand Faux because it's the cheapest one, but they all work the same. And I'm just dry brushing a little bit on the front, and I also did it on the back. And now I'm using some leftover ribbon I got from Hobby Lobby on 50% off. I didn't have enough of it, so I'm going to cut it down the middle and make a longer strand and glue it on the top. Since this is a fall craft, I knew I wanted some raffia in there. I couldn't quite figure out how I wanted it, but I ended up cutting a bunch of strands that were loose, tying them at the top, and leaving a little I don't know if that's like a little mini fray at the top there, a spray, and just gluing a raffia bow on top of it. So you can see what I'm doing. I glued that little strands that I tied together. I glued that down first, and now I'm gluing a raffia bow on top of it. And the raffia bow, I just spun around and around on my fingers and tied it in the middle. It was that easy to do. And I poked holes using my cuticle clippers from the Dollar Tree, but you can use scissors. This is the nice thing about the cardboard. It's super easy to make the holes on the side, no problem. And again, when these things are decorated, you can't really tell what they are. I mean, you can cover them with all kinds of trimmings, and they're just gorgeous. Anyway, I decided that I'd like a few beads on either side of my raffia, so I'm adding a couple of the wooden beads. I think I put 4. Yeah, I did. I put 4 on either side. And of course, I'm opening my fall leaves that I got off Amazon and using some of the roses from the Dollar Tree and the greenery from the Dollar Tree. I love that greenery. Look at that. That's from the Dollar Tree. During the summer, that was really beautiful. And that's it. I think this is absolutely gorgeous autumn wall decor. Jar that I snapped up during the Valentine's Day time because they often disappear during the fall time in my Dollar Trees, and they are perfect, of course, for this season and Christmas. So this time when I saw them, I grabbed them up. So actually I only got one, so let's hope they come out again. So I haven't actually checked my Dollar Tree to see if there's any right now. But I'm using some needle nose and just taking off that metal part and a blow dryer to remove the sticker. Thanks for the tip someone gave me a long time ago. I think it was last year, but it works great. I also used tweezers initially to gently pry that because I find those metal pieces bend really, really easy. So I just kind of stuck some tweezers under there and, was lifting it a little bit. And then I did needle nose. So here's a free printable. It'll be down below my description box, of course, and I'm just using the water trick here where you paint the water and then you tear it off. For a long time I avoided this because it used to spread and mess up my ink, but I got a new paintbrush that I'm using, and I noticed it's not doing that anymore. So now I'm thinking it might have been the paintbrush. I think maybe it just held too much water and drenched my paper by accident. And so I'm going to use a glue stick for this one so that we don't get any wrinkles, and I apply it generously. That's just a Dollar Tree glue stick. Any glue stick will work. And I'm going to put my little sign down. Now, in my mind, I was thinking apple butter with this, and last year I made one that was white, like with a shiplap, and those are just really, really common. So I wanted to do something different. You know, I want to change up my decor and have different things going on each time. So this time I did it kind of with the feel of apple butter. I actually love apple butter. There was this place I used to go to that sold nothing but apple stuff, and they had the most amazing apple butter. Anyway, I'm just going to go ahead and put the antiquing wax on, and then I do take a little bit of white paint to go over that just to kind of tone it down just a little bit so it's not so dark. But I really love that, you know, the way this came out. It definitely gives a nice warm feeling, and on the camera right now it actually looks darker. In real life it's more softer. I don't know why, maybe the camera, because it's in 4K, it's picking up like too many details, but in real life it's very soft and kind of muted and very pretty. So I went ahead and I glued the metal piece back on the top, and I'm wrapping some of the Dollar Tree jute twine around the top because it gives me another surface to glue my bows to that's a little bit more sturdy than just the metal. And I'm taking some of the Dollar Tree ribbon in the burlap, and I'm also using the baker's twine again. I really love the little splash of color that this gives and the different feel and texture. I'm using it in green, and then I went ahead and combined it. You can see what I'm doing. I went ahead and combined it with the burlap ribbon, and then the bow at the top I actually spun around my fingers with the jute twine and made another bow with some more of the little baker's twine. And then look at this. Look how cute and perfect that is for something with the theme of apples because it's red and green. I love this. Now I also saved my leaves from my florals. I recommend you guys do the same. My favorites are usually the ones from the roses because they pass for fall leaves, and they pass in this instance for apple leaves. So I thought it would be fun to add some little apple leaves at the top. I'm going to go ahead and hot glue them down and tack them so that they're in a nice position. Next, I'm going to go ahead and take the color Burnt Umber from Apple Barrel. It's one of my favorites. If you follow my channel, you figured that out. And I'm just going to kind of tap it on the ends and a little bit in the center, but I'm trying to make it look more like apple leaves because apple leaves usually do have some browning and imperfections, and I think it just looks more authentic this way. I'm just using one of the Dollar Tree furniture pens here and distressing the edges. I'm using the one this time in the color black. Lastly, I tied on some of the nautical rope for a hanger, and I'm just burning off the extra hairs, and we're all done. This is my inspiration piece, and again you're going to need some of the Towering Tumble game here, and you're going to start by gluing them together in a formation where you have 3 and then 3 and 2 sets of 6, just like that. And then when you have those 2 sets glued together, you're going to go ahead and glue them on top of each other like you see me doing here. And I also did 2. You can see it up in the upper right or upper left hand corner there. Those are already done. We're going to be making a total of 3 little books, and this isn't a new DIY by any stretch of the imagination. It's been around I think for 4 or 5 years, but believe it or not, I don't have one. And I want one. They're so cute. I mean, I made a little super tiny one for a tiered tray decor just all year round for farmhouse, but I really wanted one for this season. I think they're super cute, and particularly for fall. At least the designs I've seen are super appealing. So that's what we're doing today. So now we're taking some of this aged paper I got on Amazon. Again, the link is down below in my description box if you're interested in getting the one that I'm using. And we're tracing just the edge here. I'm choosing the part of the paper that has like an orangey tint to it because it's autumn and I just want a little bit more of those kind of colors, I guess. This is supposed to be like the binding of the book, the edge, and it's supposed to look old, so I thought it would go really good. And we're just going to trace 3 of those out. And once you have those 3 cut out, of course, you're going to take and bend them around the edges of these little cute little rectangle shapes you made to get the marks and seams so that when you go to write your words, you'll know where to write them. And of course, I'm freehanding this, so if you choose to do it that way too, I recommend that you do it in soft pencil first. I'm not confident with my writing, even when I start with the letter at the end and then the letter at the beginning and try to move my way to the center. I'm still, I just struggle with this. This isn't my strength. So if you have a stamp or if you want to put this through your printer and print up the words, you can do that too. Either way, but if you do it freehand like me, make sure you use a pencil first. I'm going to use this painter's pen here. You could get them at Walmart, and I'm going to go ahead and trace out my words. I did end up having to go over these about 3 times because when the paint dried, you could still see the pencil even though I had written it really, really lightly. So just wanted to give you a little bit of a heads up on that. And now I'm just going to glue them down using some hot glue. You can use wet glue if you want to. I just appreciated the instant stick, and what I did is I moved really, really quick to press them down while the glue was still liquid. And then I decided that I wanted my cute little books to be orange so that they kind of really popped the whole vibe of fall and autumn. And so I'm doing this now, and it looks fine because once you distress and you add the little lines everywhere, you're not going to see, just keep your hand steady. But if you want, or that you want yours to be a color, go ahead and paint it ahead of time. And then I thought, no, Holly, don't take a shortcut here. I want my sides to look like book pages, so I'm just taking the color Antique Parchment by Apple Barrel Paint. I'm taking off some hot glue here. And I'm going to paint the sides to try and make them look like book pages. And the color for the orange that I used is the Dollar Tree orange. I've spoke about this in a previous video. I think their paints are pretty decent. I pick them up when I can. I just don't like the way they come in the squirt bottle because if I squirt too much out, I will waste a lot of paint because I can't get it back in. So this way, I just put it, you can see the little orange bottle there. That's an old paint bottle that had orange paint in it, and I rinsed it out a little bit, but it was pretty much the identical color. So I just squirted the Dollar Tree paint in there, and that's the color I'm using. Next, I just took my gray Sharpie pen and started drawing some lines. These don't have to be perfect. In fact, the more imperfect they are, the more realistic they look. You don't want like even symmetry because pages don't look like that. You just kind of want the illusion that there's book pages there. And then I take my brown little Sharpie there to the right, and I'm going to go ahead and accentuate where the books separate, where there's supposed to be 3 books, to try and kind of tone down where the 2 layers join, because you don't want that to stick out. You want them to look like they're thicker books. So that's what I do next. I also go around with this little brown Sharpie here and I outline all of the books. So along the seam where it's supposed to be the binder, in between, I just kind of use this to distress it a little bit and just accentuate the detail that I want to stand out more. Next, I'm going to use this little checkered buffalo ribbon here and tie it around the side end of the book, and then just put some fall garnish on top with some bows and a little pumpkin and a leaf, and just do some fall. That was a little bit different than the books I showed you, I guess, but I just think that looks really, really cute. So that's what I end up doing. going to need the Tumbling Tower game blocks, and I'm starting off by gluing them together, the thick side to side, in formations of 5 each, and I'm making 3 of those formations. Once you're done with that, you're going to glue all 3 of these together to make one big cube shape. For your second pumpkin, you're going to do another row of blocks, but this time you're going to do 6, and you're going to make 3 exactly like you did before and glue them together exactly like you did before. And you will end up with another cube type formation, but it'll just be a bit bigger. And you're going to do this exact same thing again, except this time you're going to do 7 of the towering blocks. So just to clarify, there are groups of 3 there if you look at it vertically, if you wanted to glue it on the sides instead. And I glued those 3 little clumps together in 7 rows, 6 rows, and then finally 5 rows. And if you haven't guessed already, we're going to make a little primitive pumpkin topiary here, and it just kind of gave the vibe of the shiplap look. Look how cute that is. So this is what you should have so far. So the camera turned off, but it's no big deal. I just painted the bottom in the orange paint from the Dollar Tree in the Crafter's Square. It's called Crafter's Square Peinture acrylic paint. I looked up the word peinture, and it's just translated into English as paint. It's French. The language detected was French. So it's just their squeeze bottle acrylic paint. And this pumpkin I'm going to paint in Joanne Craft Essentials Crafter Edition paint in the color Leaf Green. And then the very top pumpkin I will be painting this one in the color of Antique Parchment by Apple Barrel Paint. Next, I'm going to give my little pumpkins a quick blow dry, and then I will be using the antique parchment to do some dry brushing over the 2 colored pumpkins. Well, I guess they're all technically colors, but I can't obviously distress with the same color on the antique parch top little pumpkin. So this is just going to be for the orange one and the green one. And then for the top little antique parchment pumpkin, I'm going to use Territorial Beige and do some dry brushing with that. And now this is what you do when you make a mistake. You can see here I put a little bit too much on, so it blobbed. And all you do is take a wipe, rub it out, and make it look nice and soft, and voila, keep going. And Territorial Beige is an Apple Barrel paint, by the way. I didn't mention that. But here I am taking the Dollar Tree Spanish moss, and I'm just kind of forming it into like a little bird's nest, I guess. I decided that moss in between each one of these little pumpkins would be so cute. So I'm just kind of making it thin enough so that it doesn't tilt the pumpkins, if that makes sense, because I want to make sure that they're nice and flat. So I just kind of made it really wispy there. And I'm going to do this in between the orange and the green, and between the green and the cream colored one as well. Using a little Dollar Tree wood piece, I'm just adding a stem. You can go outside to good old Mother Nature and just grab a branch in the same size or thinner and cut them in little pieces too. If you want to do that, that would be just as good. And you can also use a wine cork, you can use a cinnamon stick or a bunch of cinnamon sticks together. I've seen people twist like the raffia up and make stems that way. The Spanish moss, I guess, technically could be twisted around something, but just be creative and have fun. And here comes a really fun part. I love to embellish my little pumpkins. So this is some stretchy lace. It kind of has a boing factor to it. It bounces back when you stretch it. But the Dollar Tree lace ribbon would be just as sweet, totally. So you could substitute that easily for this. I was going to use that. It's just I started using this, I cut it open. So I thought, I have a little theme going this year. And because these are supposed to be little primitive pumpkins, I'm going to keep it nice and simple. I'm just going to glue the little flower on top for an embellishment. And then of course the raffia. You gotta have the raffia at fall time. And that's it. I just kind of trim the raffia up a little bit and we're good to go. And I think this came up so cute. Hey everyone, I hope you enjoyed this video. These are literally some of my most favorite DIYs exactly because they can be made so cheap and in often cases free, which is so valuable for people. It means everyone can craft. No matter who you are, you can find something in this video and make something beautiful for your home. And until the next video, breathe deep, fret not, and do things that make you happy.